I didn't really think I was that good at sales. So when I first got into sales, I did struggle a lot, and because I didn't have any of the skills, right? And
Yeah.
so with me at the very beginning, I knew that I needed to learn the skills right away. So I would say it was just more so just gaining momentum, and then once I had momentum, everything started working in my favor.
Please welcome America's service sales coach, Joe Crisara.
Welcome to the Service MVP Podcast, the show that helps home service professionals master high-value sales, build stronger client relationships, and grow their business like never before. Join industry experts as they share real strategies that drive results. If you're ready to level up your service game, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
It's the Service MVP Podcast.
Thank you for listening and watching the Service MVP Podcast. I want to give you a copy of my free book. Just click on the link below in the description and one will be sent to you from me personally. Thank you so much for listening.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Service MVP Podcast. I'm your host, Ethan Ralphs, and today with me, I'm very excited to have our guest on the podcast today. We have Liam with Fox Plumbing and Heating. Liam, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So today we're going to be talking about one of the programs that we offer here at Service MVP, and we're going to kind of be breaking down what it has meant to you and the importance of it to you and what you've gotten out of it. And what I'm hoping by the end of this is that you can share with our audience a little bit of what you've learned and a little bit of some of the takeaways that you have, so that even if people out there are hearing this and the hope is that they need a program like ICare that can help them. But even if not, maybe we can share some tips and tricks that you've taken from that and really be able to help the service businesses out there. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds great.
Awesome. Perfect. So first off, can you just give me a little bit of background on you, the work that you do, and who you are as a person?
Yeah, so I've been working at Fox Plumbing and Heating since last June, so almost a year now. I'm a comfort advisor, and yeah, I sell HVAC.
Awesome. What got you into this industry?
I've always wanted to get into sales. I knew that sales was super important for business, and I've always really liked business. So I knew that the best step forward was to get really good at sales, and so that's why I chose. Then also, like, the HVAC part of it is I grew up on a farm. I was super blue collar. I liked working with my hands, so the HVAC part I like as well, of course. So
that's awesome. So sales has really connected with you over the years. How has that relationship with the sales part of it in particular changed for you? So over the years, as you've been working in sales and in HVAC specifically, what has your relationship been like? Has there been ups and downs? Has there been areas where you think, okay, maybe this might not be for me? Or has it been a pretty strong relationship all the way through?
Yeah, growing up, I didn't really think I was that good at sales. So when I first got into sales, I did struggle a lot, and because I didn't have any of the skills, right? And so with me at the very beginning, I knew that I needed to learn the skills right away. So I would say it was just more so just gaining momentum, and then once I had momentum, everything started working in my favor. But yeah, it definitely is a grind at the beginning, and you have to learn a lot of skills. But once you learn the foundational skills, it's definitely worth it.
That's awesome. So taking that and then translating that into the HVAC space, what has that career been like for you overall, being able to, help people with their homes and all of this stuff?
Yeah. So helping people is great. The HVAC industry is great. And I think one of the things that really, the difference between home service sales and other sales is you really are focused on customer satisfaction. And so you really get to see the result out of the service and the product that you provide to the customer after the fact. And there's a lot of customer satisfaction. And I think that's one of the greatest parts to the home service industry is customer satisfaction, being able to help people and seeing that in real life.
Awesome. So what have been some of the tools and some of the keys that you've taken away over the years that help guarantee that customer satisfaction that you're going after?
Yeah, so I would say using Service MVP has really helped me with connecting with clients. I think that, before Service MVP, just like the simple stuff, coffee with homeowners. I never really had that before.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I started getting better and better at using the service MVP process and trying to master that. And then now all of a sudden, like I'd say 2 out of 3 homes, like 70% of the time I'm drinking coffee with the husband and wife. We're talking about their life and my life. And yeah, so I would say definitely connecting, using Service MVP to connect with, using Service MVP to really help with sales is super important. And then obviously just being able to help other people and connecting with others.
That's awesome. So you did bring up Service MVP. And so I don't want to make this a massive sales pitch for Service MVP, but an important part of your journey that you were telling me is that Service MVP process and being able to use that with your sales and all of that stuff. And one thing that I specifically wanted to talk to you about today was our ICare program. And so first of all, can you just tell us what is ICare with Service MVP?
Yeah, so ICare is basically internal care. So Monday to Friday, every single day, they have an hour time slot where you can go in and you can do private training, and then you can also listen to other people too. So sometimes when it's super busy, 4 or 5 other technicians out there around the world want to get help, I'll just sit there and listen and see, just kind of pick up what the coaches are telling other people. And I'd say that the first couple months when I started really taking it seriously, it was just me. So it was really great to be able to work with just all the coaches like Matt and Ryan and Tanya, and of course Sabrina. So it was just it's definitely good to be able to hear from other people and their issues, and sometimes their problems and their issues are the same problems as mine. So it kind of also reinforces like I'm not the only person that has these problems. Yeah. And then obviously just like the one-on-one coaching is why I go there the most. Because you have the Zoom meeting, and then you have the main room, and then you have the breakout room. So I try to do breakout rooms as much as I can to be able to focus one-on-one specifically with a specific part to the process, or just, how do I just anything in related towards sales whatsoever. So for
sure. Yeah. I think it's kind of the obvious bit of it to have that one-on-one practice. I think that's the obvious takeaway is saying, hey, I'm going to have one-on-one training, of course, because we're going to dial into specifically my things that I'm struggling with and all of that. But that's really the number one feedback that I get from people is they go in and they don't realize the power of also listening to other people's struggles. And have you had the same, I've heard this a couple times, have you had the same experience where people jump in and they hear someone talking about a struggle that they're having, and then you're sitting there going, I didn't even realize that was a struggle that I was having until I heard someone talking about that was a struggle that they're having?
Yeah, a couple times for sure. Yeah, no, it's it definitely helps you with kind of figuring out the stuff that you didn't even realize were problems to begin with.
Gotcha.
And then you realize, oh, I've been actually doing that wrong as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
For sure. Can you give me some examples? Obviously, I'm not asking you to break down your entire career and all the mistakes that you've made and all that stuff, but is there anything recently that's kind of stood out to you where someone was talking about something and you went, oh, I didn't even realize that was an issue with what I'm doing as well. I need to listen into this.
Yeah, there's a specific part to the Service MVP process called the magic moment where you basically build the customer self-esteem and make them feel better about themselves, so that way they can choose a better solution for a long-term solution for them and their family. It also just helps connect with the client as well. And so there was a guy there that always likes to talk about magic moments. And then I started thinking about all those times that I've missed magic moments. And so, yeah, definitely the magic moment and building the self-esteem and being grateful of the people that you're talking to, definitely that was something that I realized that I was actually lacking.
Yeah, for sure. So for all the people who are not Service MVP clients, can you just break down really quick what a magic moment is for them?
Like give you an example?
Yeah, let's do that. Why don't you give me an example here?
Yeah, so can I say something to you, Ethan? Yeah, so one thing I know for sure is that Service MVP is super lucky to have you, to be able to take time out of your day to come here at 7 o'clock and to do a podcast with me out of anybody. And it makes me feel really good to see how Joe and everybody else, including myself, is so grateful of you. And I once again, I thank you for having me on, and I thank you for everything that you do. And I'm sure Joe does too. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you very much. So that's actually a perfect example of a magic moment there. And that's one of those things that it takes a little bit to take that leap on that magic moment is okay, first of all, you got to figure out what are you going to be sort of making the compliment about? What are you going to be talking to them about? And pulling out those distinguishing factors. And then on top of that, having the courage to say, okay, I'm going to look this person in the eye and be genuine and sincere here, which is such a, tough thing for a lot of people nowadays. Sure. So that's really important. So you were feeling like you weren't fully taking advantage of those magic moments, that you just weren't using them, or that you weren't using them correctly?
No, just weren't using them. I just kind of forget about it. And then also just like not normalizing it on an appointment is just, it's uncomfortable at first. And then once you start normalizing it, then it gets normal, right? So you get a lot more comfortable with it.
So for you, does that look like repetition on calls? Does that look like just getting out there and doing it? Or how does that look like for you to really get it into your process?
Yeah, repetition is key, and then just role play and training. So that's the nice thing about Service MVP is usually, like, every single time I'm not on a call at 10 a.m., which is Pacific Standard Time, they have ICare. And so when I'm not on a call, I always go to ICare, and I'm always training and repeating. So it's basically like I am on a call, but I'm role playing with one of the coaches. And so the biggest thing is just repetition. Joe has this 5-5-5 rule. So it's basically you read the script silently, then you read the script out loud, and then you say the script without having the script in your face. And so, like, repetition is definitely the key.
Awesome. So you were talking about the timing of ICare. So tell me a little bit about how important that is to get that into your routine there, and also just being able to access that as a daily tool for you.
Yeah, I mean, so ICare is during the day, so that's the hardest part, is just trying to make it the time.
Yeah.
But for me, I always try to make sure that usually, like, I'm either done a call at 9:45 or even 10:15, 10:30, but I'll go there just for the last 15, 20 minutes to listen in and just let people know, is like, I just finished a call.
So it is something that you don't have to be there from start to finish. You can still get value.
Yeah, it's just a Zoom meeting. So basically you can join whenever you want. Even, like, sometimes I join like 3 or 4 minutes before, like, it ends, like 10:55, 10:56, and just saying hi and just listening to the last 4 minutes. And just, I think that's one of the easiest things, is maybe instead of, like, focusing on trying to be there for the right at the start or halfway, just try to join whenever you can, and just make that process, make it normal, just to press the join button, go on the Zoom meeting and just listen in. And then from there you can kind of start to be a little bit more strategic with your time. And I also think that for talking to your business owner, talking to the owner of your company as well, to set aside time as well, I think is also important, because it is definitely a return on your investment to take that hour or 30 minutes.
Yeah. Would you say that that's something that, if a tech is listening to this, would you say that that's something that would be valuable, is to talk to your manager, talk to your owner, and say, hey, these are resources that I would like to take advantage of? Yeah. Even if the manager isn't fully into it?
Yeah. I mean, my process is a little bit different. I love my sales manager is amazing. So I just tell him, like, this is how I'm going to do it. So I'm gonna.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So, like, sometimes, like, he'll be like, "Hey, I got a call for you at 10:30." It's like, no, just put it to 11, and I'm gonna do my eye care. And he's super cool with it, because he knows at the end of the day, if I get those reps in, and if my issue that I'm having, if I get it resolved with the coach, then he knows that I won't have that issue in the call.
Well, you're putting priority on the training, so that even though you're pushing a call to 11, you're ensuring that call at 11 is going to be the best that it can possibly be.
Exactly.
Instead of sacrificing that training, having that call earlier, and then possibly having something slip through the cracks.
Exactly.
Yeah, awesome. So tell me a little bit about that importance of continued training. And really, I mean, you're an expert in this field. I have no qualms about saying that you are an expert in this field, and you really know what you're doing. And yet you're still getting in there every day and doing the continued training. You're continuing to further your education, and not sort of sitting back and saying, okay, I've learned everything. I do also know that is not the standard for this field. There's a lot of guys out there who are doing what they're doing, and they're saying, whether it's a individual tech or a business owner. I've talked to a lot of business owners who are saying, I know what I'm doing. I've already got it. The plan is already in place. I'm sticking to it. Nothing is going to change. I don't need continued education. I don't need continued training. What would you say specifically to those guys who are kind of stuck in their ways and not realizing that things are starting to slip?
Yeah. Well, I look at it like, so when you learn a skill, it's like getting a sword, right? And you can use it, but if you use your sword long enough, it's going to get dull. And so that's when training comes in.
Yeah.
So you learn a skill and then you train that skill so that way your sword is always sharp, so you can use it whenever you want. I don't know if that's a good analogy.
No, that's a great one. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, so like one of the things that I do is not only just with ICare in particular, but they have opportunity call training. So basically where you can sell, like you learn how to properly sell marketed leads, right? So you have the tech flip leads, demand leads, maintenance leads, and then also marketed or opportunity leads. And so I've been doing that every single month, just repetitively. I know it like inside and out.
Yeah.
I can say the script right now, but I do it consistently because I just want to get really, 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 really good at doing that. And so I think I've done it like 4 or 5 times in a row, and I just wanted to master that and just always keep on getting. There's always something that you can do to get better. Nobody's, even Joe. He's not even perfect, and he'll tell you that, right? So if Joe's not perfect, then how can anybody else be perfect? Right?
Yeah, for sure. I think you said something important there, which is the difference between doing something well and then mastery of it. And I think that that's the point that a lot of people, I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably on your way to trying to get master. You wouldn't be listening to something like this if you're not trying to master your skills. So I think that's a super important thing. Tell me about, what does the typical ICare Zoom meeting look like? Break down, what does the flow look like? Break it down for me.
Yeah, so at the beginning of ICare, when you join, they have majority of the coaches come there right away, and then there's just the main room, and if it gets filled up, then they'll separate in breakout rooms. So one coach will take this person, then this coach will take this person, or if it's just me, or if it's just you inside that room, if you join, then all the coaches will kind of help you at once, which is great. And you either break out one-on-one. You can always break out one-on-one, or you can be in the main room, which is just like what we were talking about earlier. You can listen to other people's issues that they're talking about as well.
Yeah, this is as far as Service MVP goes, it's really one of the programs that no one else is doing, which is the daily and weekly and monthly help to really break down one-on-one on an individual basis. What has that helped? I want you to sort of think about the comparison of, the ICare option available to you right now versus one that maybe another program would be using that is like once a month and, intermittent. Tell me about like the improvements that you've seen where that one-on-one attention daily is beneficial. Yeah,
daily improvement is key, right? Yeah, not doing the weekly, is all right, but try to do it as much as possible. Just ingrain it inside of your system. And once again, every single time, if you're going on 2 or 3, 4, 5 calls a day, well, those calls, you're going to find other issues within that same day that you can learn the next day, right? So there's always going to be problems every single day. And so the beautiful thing about iCare is it's open Monday to Friday. And so you could fix all your problems the next day or the same day. And so by fixing all your problems every single day, well, it allows you to get better at your skill compared to everybody else that's taking some other course.
For sure. And I also want to say, Service MVP, I don't want to make it seem like Service MVP is the only option for daily training. If you have a sales manager at your office, I think the importance of what we're talking about right now is the daily repetition of it. So even if it's just in your office, even if you're, an owner out there with one other tech, having some sort of ability to have that tech come to you and sit down and say, hey, this is what I'd like to work on for today. Hey, let's break down yesterday's calls, what I could have done better, and that daily improvement, not necessarily in as structured of an environment. It doesn't need to be a Service MVP Zoom call. It can be daily training, even in the small things every day within your individual company. Now, obviously, we're going to recommend the Service MVP iCare. Of course, that's going to be what we're doing. But I think one of the important things is that daily repetition. So what would you see that looking like for a small company that's just starting out, doesn't have Service MVP? What do you think the best takeaways from iCare would be that they would be able to implement?
Yeah, just always practicing and finding a process is the first thing. You can't train anything if you don't have a process. Yeah. So you have to figure out a process. If it's your process, any process is better than no process. So if you have a process, then train that. If you have using any other sales process, then you just got to train that. So first thing is finding a process, that you're comfortable with and that you like, and then doing just little, repetitive training, 10, 15, 20 minutes a day, even if it's just reading off the script once or twice. And, and then I would also say writing down sometimes before I go into ICare or anything, I'll write down some of the problems that I'm having, and then I'll figure out solutions. So the nice thing with the coaches is I give them my problems, and then I'd say like 80% of the time, I'll give them the solution, and we just got to role play and practice.
Gotcha. Now to me, that sounds like a very proactive thing to do. You're coming into these meetings very well prepared. Is that something that is taking up a ton of your time, or now that it's a part of your process, is that just kind of what you do?
No, maybe thinking about it for 10, 15 minutes, but 10, 15 minutes out of your day to increase your average ticket by $4,000.
That's a pretty good investment. I would say so.
Yeah, and then your close rate increases, so you close more sales. Yeah, so I'd say 10, 15 minutes out of my day to just kind of think about the stuff that I'm having issues with.
Yeah.
And then that way I'm not wasting time for the coaches, and I'm maximizing the amount of time that I have for that within that hour, right?
Yeah, for sure. You're here for Total Immersion right now. We're
Correct.
doing Total Immersion this week, and every time I listen into Total Immersion, it happens right outside of my office, so I kind of get to listen to it. And one of the top things that I always hear people talking about, and what I hear Joe talking about, is kind of that realization that you have 24 hours in your day. There's a lot of things that you're doing that are wasting time that you could be swapping out with things that are going to be improving. So I think what it sounds like you're saying with those 10 or 15 minutes is you don't have to find an extra 10 or 15 minutes in your day. You have to find the 10 or 15 minutes that are being wasted on something that your energy is going towards that isn't going to improve your sales and your service, and instead put it towards thinking about, what is going to improve.
Well, just like driving from one appointment to another appointment, just in between their driving, is like you can think about that stuff and just write it down. Or when you're eating lunch in your truck or in the office, you can think about that as. I usually just think about it as I'm doing something else and then write it down on the side.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
For sure.
It's like, oh, I forgot that. I should write that down.
Yeah.
I've even done that inside of homes too. Right?
Nice.
So
it's like always having that kind of small voice in the back of your head. I was talking about that same thing last week for business owners with marketing, where that's kind of the same thing. Is marketing is everywhere and can happen all the time, and so it's just this little voice in the back of your head that you constantly have to be thinking of. Okay, where can I be improving the marketing? What's a little thing that I can do? So having that exact same voice to going, okay, how can I be improving this? What was something that I stumbled on that I want to improve for next time? And always thinking about that, but then taking action on it as well. So what would you say to any techs out there who are thinking, hey, this sounds like something that would be great for me, but sales manager or owner doesn't really want to get into it? Maybe they're just not invested in their team as much as possible. What would you say to those guys?
Oh, well, I hope if the owner bought this much stuff that he'd be committed. Because with it, you can't override what your manager tells you to do, right?
Yeah.
But I'd just say try to find as much time as possible, even if it's like. I've done it a couple. To be honest with you, I've done it a couple of times where I haven't finished my appointment by 9:45, right?
Yeah.
But I won't close my job out, so everybody thinks I'm working at that appointment, and then I'll just go into ICare, and nobody will bother me because they think I'm still on my job, right? But in reality, my manager doesn't care as long as I'm closing. I think that's the thing with, especially as a comfort advisor, is as long as you're getting better and your average ticket is increasing and your close rate's increasing, I think that's all that matters.
Gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, can you tell me a little bit about what are some of the recent revelations that you've had in ICare that have really helped you and your performance lately?
So recent things that I've learned?
Yeah, things that you've learned, things that you've been working on, things like that.
Yeah, so objection handling. So the other thing about ICare too is you do your courses, right? You can do level 1, 2, 3, 4 training. And so I'll give you an example with level 4 training. I'm doing objection. I did graduated from objection handling last month with Matt. And but to practice and graduate, you had to do a bunch of like objection handles, right? And so I went into ICare just to practice my homework to graduate.
Yeah.
And so with Matt, I did one-on-one training, just objection handling. And with that, I mean, when I graduated the next day in his class, I was the first one up, and I did everything correct because I just trained days before with ICare. So it also helps if you're graduating one of like the online virtual courses to do ICare and just kind of help you with your homework, I guess.
Yeah,
so to speak.
for sure.
So objection handling would be a big one, and I would say one of the things that because I think this is just how Joe hires them. But every single coach has HVAC or plumbing experience.
Yeah.
Has home service experience. So when you ask them a question, they actually know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Right. And the other thing is they're really good. So for example, Sabrina, she's really good at asking questions. So I asked them, so Sabrina, what are some good questions I can ask homeowners? And she can give me like 5 different questions, and I'll use those questions.
Yeah.
And they work out. So I'd say that a lot of them have industry knowledge that I don't have. And so, for example, just like advanced questioning and really trying to dig deep into what the customer wants. I'd say that's another thing that I've learned as well.
For
that
sure.
You can't get from most people.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think that we do really well is those coaches. And when you jump on the Zoom, it's not, okay, here's a person that I've never seen before. I guess I'm going to trust them because they're part of service. It's like you've been mentioning all of their names. We've got a really great team that is extremely knowledgeable, but then also that you're going to be working with day after day, week after week. So you really get familiar with the entire team. Talk to me a little bit about how that familiarity has helped, where you're not talking to someone new every single day, where, if you're hopping on, the coach that's there with you has been working with you for a long time. They know exactly what you're going through. Tell me about the advantages to that.
Sometimes I think that they favorite me. So I think that's probably the biggest advantage is they kind of favorite me. So I think that definitely works out in my advantage. And I think just like the familiarity of being able to talk to, for example, Matt and Sabrina and the people that I'm really focusing on, because Sabrina does marketing calls and I'm always trying to get better at marketing calls. And then Matt does like the advanced level for, really focusing on specific parts of the process.
Yeah.
And so those two coaches in particular, all of them are great, but those two in particular are the ones that help me the most. And so just being able to ask it, if I have a question about marketed leads, and I know who I'm talking to, and then with Matt as well, I know if I have some issues with plumbing or just specific parts of the process, he's great too. Because the other thing is when you're familiar with them and you see them, you also know what they're good at, what their strengths and weaknesses are, right? Some of them have plumbing experience, some of them are HVAC techs, some of them are really good at RILA,
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
So it's really good.
Yeah, perfect. And so one of the things that we were talking about earlier is you get in there daily. That's one of those things semi-daily, I, as much as you possibly can. But I also, don't want people to think that this is something that in order to succeed, you have to get in there daily, Is it one of those things where you see, and you are there very often. So are you seeing people popping in and out a little bit more infrequently, but still trying to take the most advantage of that time?
Yeah, like I don't think there's some times where I don't think I have an issue, so I'm not going to go there.
Yeah.
Right. So if I don't have an issue, I'm not going to go there. So same thing with other people. If they might go there once a week or once a month, but when they go there, they have an issue, right? So I think that just look at it as it's not like a routine that you need. I mean, it would be great to have a routine.
Yeah.
But just go there if you really want to solve the problems that you're having. Yeah.
And so also, like I mentioned earlier, you are here at Total Immersion this week. How do you kind of leverage both tools, or using multiple service MVP tools at once? How do you use them in combination to really make the most of it?
Yeah, so taking notes, like I already, we're on our 4th out of the 5th day for Total Immersion. I already have a Google document of takeaways of what stuff I need to do. So as soon as I go back next Monday, I'm going to be telling the coaches this is what I want to do to get better. Yeah. And so they'll help me with that. So so taking notes and realizing what you're doing good at and what you're doing bad at, focusing what you're not doing good at and what you're doing bad at. And, being able to go into ICare after, once you learned what you need to do and what part of the process you're not doing, then you go to ICare and then you get you can build that part into your process again. Gotcha. And so, it does definitely, I think now with me, before I did any of the training, I started ICare immediately. So I went to ICare before I went to anything else. I was trying to learn things on my own, and then just go to ICare and help me out. And they did help me out massively. And so they're the ones that put me into the guided online training. But I think that the best way to do ICare is to be able to like actually know what the process is first, and then try to build onto it, right?
Yeah.
So once you kind of know what you need to do, and once you have that skill, or you're trying to learn the skill at least, then you can go into ICare and really start sharpen your sword.
Yeah, that's awesome. So right now, being in total immersion, are you still going to doing ICare in the mornings, or are you're just fully on board with total
in
immersion?
ICare, it's 10 a.m. So 10 a.m.
Oh, so you're in total immersion at
either
that
way.
time. Anyways, yeah. Awesome.
Actually, I did join once for like 30 seconds just to say that I went here this week.
Yeah.
But that's it.
That's great.
No, I didn't. No, you can't do it both.
Yeah. So what do you if you're comfortable sharing, what are some of the things that you're working on right now, or some of the things that you've brought to ICare recently that you've been working on?
Can I say what I'm going to bring to ICare?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
So magic moments still.
Yep.
And then the second thing is objection handling. Objection handling until basically they kick you out of the house type thing. And then the third thing is financing, leading with financing. So asking the coaches how they've led with financing. I think that's going to help me a lot with my average ticket. That's what I learned at Total Immersion.
Yeah.
That's what I'm focusing on, is really trying to encourage people and lead with financing and show them like the benefits of financing.
Yeah.
Right. And then those are the three main things that I would say that I'm doing. That I'm
Awesome.
focused on.
Cool. So with those, what are some of your goals once you get back home, once you start actually, working in the field? Do you have any like numerical goals that you want to get to? Do you have any goals that you're working towards within the company? Anything like that?
Yeah. So numerical goals, close rate. I want to get my close rate to 50% on marketed leads. So 50% on marketed leads, and my average ticket to over 20 grand. That would be nice. Right now, I think my close rate is like on marketed leads about 37%, and then my average ticket's 16,000. Right. So yeah, I want to get it to 20 grand, and then 50%, and then also focusing on getting into a call by call role, which is another process you guys have for advanced training.
For sure. Yeah. So just to give everyone a little bit of a sense, what size of a company is Fox right now?
60 early 60s, like 62 employees.
Gotcha. Yeah. So when you are doing all of this training, what is the percentage of employees there who is as in depth as you are right now?
Nobody.
Nobody. So are you going back and are you helping train other people? Are you giving out advice? What does that look like when you are so deeply entrenched in your own improvement? And I would think everyone else around you would have no choice but to also improve themselves. What is that like? Is that the case?
I guess the big thing is we have two different offices. So I'm at the office where most people aren't there, so I don't really get to see most people. So that's the unfortunate thing. But this, I would say, leading into that, I do focus more so just on getting better myself and not focusing on what other people do.
Gotcha.
And that's what's allowed me to kind of I'm focusing on my growth and how I can grow, and not on others. But once again, like getting into call by call, which is your leading technicians, that's going to be the part where I'm taking all of my skills that I've learned and being able to transfer that knowledge onto some technicians to help them out, to increase their worth, and then to also to help the company out as well.
For sure.
Yeah.
With those technicians, and I'll say it again, now that you're you're mastering this stuff, with those technicians, I'm going to assume a lot of technicians just like them are listening to this right now. What are a couple of things that you're working on with them that are like foundational building blocks but can really make an impact with their sales and with their closing rates?
Yeah, I would say like I'm not working on them yet, but what the first things I would be working with them on would be just, I would say, understanding why we do the process. I think that's the biggest thing why people just don't like doing it or don't feel like it's worthwhile, is really getting them to understand why we do the process. It's not just some sales tactic, to screw over the customer or something like that. We're actually trying to help the customer. And so really getting them ingrained and they know why. Once we start with why, we can go from there, and we can start focusing on other parts of the process. So connecting with people and talking to people and giving them magic moments is the hardest thing. And then once they know why, we can start to talk to those to the technicians about providing that 5-star customer service, right? Because a lot of people think that they're providing 5-star service, but in reality, you're not, right? It's just some old conventional wisdom that you've heard for the last, 10 decades, but in reality, you're not providing the best service.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think that's the importance of updating your education is, you could have gotten a really great sales education 20 years ago. And you could still be doing all of those things exactly like you learned them back then. But if you are not learning how, people are updating their mindsets when you're in their home, how all of these new things that are working better than they did 20 years ago, you're not keeping up. You're not keeping up, week to week, month to month, let alone over the course of years. So I would love to hear a little bit about that if you've seen in this industry people relying on that old information, even if they know that old information really well. But do you see that at all where people are relying on old techniques?
Like old technical information or just...
As far as like when it comes to sales and when it comes to relating to the customers, I know we talk about providing options a lot. When it comes to stuff like that, do you see that in the industry?
Yeah, especially in Canada, because I live in Canada, of course. In Canada, we don't really, like in HVAC, there is no sales really. Right,
Really?
compared to the States. So really, it's very new for Canadian HVAC or like anything in the home service industry. It's very new for them to experience the sales into it. So I think that's the other thing too, is they're just not experienced in sales whatsoever, and they don't really, they have like a negative sales is a negative connotation. It's an added negative connotation, right? And so really having to let them know about the importance of sales, and you can sell ethically, and of course you can sell unethically, right?
Yeah.
But we're focused on selling ethically.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, it's like if you want to work 5 days a week, you need sales, right? If
Of course,
if you don't like sales, well, you're not going to work on an install. You're not going to be able to repair an inducer motor. So you need to learn how to sell, right? Or somebody in your company needs to learn how to sell, right? And that's how you get bonus pays. That's how you're going to get benefits in your company. That's how you're going to get holiday pays. That's how you're going to work in a better company, is by sales.
And we didn't even talk about that bit of it, where even if you're not coming into the sales bit of it for the sake of education or helping customers, it's financially beneficial to you as a tech to be able to continue this education and to bring home more for your family and to have that higher close rate, so you're getting paid more, obviously depending on what the pay structure is at your company. But
Service MVP helps people with pay structure.
Yeah.
And it's always the pay structure is always better. The more you know about the process, the more you'll get paid. And definitely not having to work as much either, right? Once you get really, really good at the process and you train it every single day and you become a master at it, you don't have to work as much, right? And then you'll get paid even more. Right?
Exactly.
And then your boss will like you, your manager will like you. You won't have
everything's
any
up from there.
Yeah, right. And then I would say that's one of my biggest motivators, right? Is that I can make more money.
Yeah.
Right. So
we don't have to in this industry have any fears about saying, money's a motivator for me. I want to be able to provide for myself and for my family. I'm not in this industry just to make other people feel good. I'm in it to make a living for myself and to carve out a living for my family. So I don't think there's any shame in admitting that and saying that.
And one of the things that Joe teaches all throughout is just, if you're going to be a 5-star company and you're going to be a real professional, charge like a professional, right? Sell. Don't be the cheapest person, because being cheap isn't
for sure
isn't good.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, what I want to know what you have coming up. What's going on in your life? What do you have on the horizon? What are you getting excited about right now as we close this out?
Yeah, so I'd say just keep on getting better at sales, get better, and then just climb the company and learn some leadership. I'd say that's the big thing, aside from like the actual sales process, is just getting into a leadership role and being able to help other technicians. And that's what I would say is my goal, and as soon as possible is leadership. Get into leading people and managing people, and
Awesome. So last thing, and we'll cut this bit out. Last thing is I know we talked about your social media yesterday. Do you want to give out your social media? Is there anything you want to plug? Can we say reach out to Fox, or do you want to give any?
You can say reach out to Fox, and then just what's your phone number? I'll give him my phone number.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Awesome.
That's enough.
Yeah. Cool. Well, perfect. Thank you so much for joining us here today. That was a great conversation. I think one of the biggest takeaways is, obviously ICare, getting in that training, getting in that, and having that little voice in the back of your head that's always asking, what can I do better? What are things that I can improve on? And then taking action on that, even if it's not directly ICare through Service MVP, it's just that daily improvement that we're after. Now, Liam, where can we find you? What is a good number to reach? If we're in Canada, what is a good number to reach you at? Where can I find you?
Yeah, so I'm in British Columbia. You can find me based off of the company, so Fox Plumbing and Heating in Vernon and Kamloops. But my personal cell, if you want to text me, is 782-409-9408.
Perfect. Well, Liam's a great guy. If you are in that area, please give him a call for anything that you would possibly need. And Liam, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And thank you all so much for listening.
Thanks for having me.